The ciabattas, I did it with 100% biga and 100% hydration. Stay here and see how I did it. This dough that you're seeing here on the counter is made for ciabatta. But the best thing of all, it is made out of 100% biga and the hydration 100% too. So now I am about to divide it and start shaping the ciabattas. The good part of the ciabatta is that we don't need to shape anything at all. We just cut and divide the dough, and that's the shape of the ciabatta. Very easy. The thing is not to lose all the air that's inside the dough. What I love of this dough is the smell of the biga. I wish you could smell it too. Come, smell it. Can you smell it? Oh. It takes me direct to Roma. It's like a short trip to Roma, baking at home. So now I'll divide this ciabattas, and it's really, really easy. We don't have to do much anything. Just cut the dough. Okay, time to prepare the peel. Always use some semolina or flour if you don't have, so the ciabattas won't stick onto the peel. Let's go with this first one. There, gently. I'll take this one. It's so light. We're ready to go to the oven. The oven is preheated very at high temperature. So here they go. Let's make some steam. May the gluten be with them. And this is the biga that I was talking about. It has been fermenting the whole night here on top of the counter at room temperature. That is a secret. And it's full of air, super light, and ready to start the bread making. And here you'll see the recipe for this ciabatta. Remember that my app is Gluten Morgen Baker's Percentage, and it's free to download in iOS or Android. What is a biga? Maybe you still don't know what is a biga. A biga is a pre-fermented dough, an Italian pre-fermented dough that will help us to build or to make the final dough, the bread. But in this case, the interesting thing is that this biga is using the 100% of the flour that we use in the recipe, and that will make the dough super light, super soft, and super tasty. How do we make a biga? Now we'll show you how to make a generic biga, but all bigas are almost the same. It's really easy to do. The key of the biga is the hydration, which is half the weight of the flour. So for example, if we have 1 kilo flour, then we have half kilogram of water. And always use a little amount of yeast. The less you use, the better the biga will be. So it's pretty easy to use. For example, I have 100 grams of flour here. Now we'll add this little amount of yeast. Yes, it's too little. And now the water, which is half the weight of the flour. And now let's mix the dough with our hands. We are not kneading, we're just mixing all the 3 ingredients. So the dough is like you're seeing now. It's very clumsy. We are not kneading, we are not developing the gluten. It's just mixing, and that's all. Now I'll cover it up and let it rest here on the counter until tomorrow. But the magic of the gluten, and if you saw this biga a few seconds ago, the biga is ready to start with the final recipe, with the refreshment. And now it's time to put the biga on the counter, if we can. Okay, thank you. Ta-da! And here with you, here is the biga finally. So let's chop it down and let's start with the final dough. It is better to cut the biga in order not to have some crumbs on the final dough. That's why I cut it. And take a look at all the bubbles of fermentation that we have here in the dough. And now I'll cut these chunks in even smaller bites. This will help the dough machine, the mixer, not to make these heavy crumbs on the dough. Of course, you can do this dough mixing or kneading by hand, but it's a complicated task. If you have a mixer, please don't doubt in using it. And finally, these are all the small bites of biga. The smaller they are, the better. So now I'll put them on the mixer. And here is the rest of the water that I will be adding very slowly and checking always the dough how it is going. This is called also basinage in French. Okay, let's start this on. And now let's move on to high speed. Let's go adding the rest of the water very slowly. Time to add the rest of the yeast. Time to add more water. We've been so far 20 minutes of kneading, and now this is the final water. Let's put it inside. Come and see, I want you to see this. Slowly, but really slowly, the gluten is getting developed slowly. Look inside. Look at those lines where the spiral mixer is working. Well, that means that the gluten slowly it's getting developed. So it's time to go in the salt. And the last ingredient of tonight is tonight? Okay, the olive oil. Finally, the dough is ready. It took us 45 minutes, which is a long time, but for a dough of 100% hydration, it's not that much, and I did it in fast speed. So if you have a slower mixer, maybe it would take you more time. So let's check it out and let's see how it is. So here's the dough. It looks like a slime, but remember it has 100% hydration. That's a lot of water. So I'll leave it resting a few minutes here, and then I'll make some foldings. Oof, if you could smell this perfume coming out of the oven. Italian perfume. Let's make a sneak peek. Woohoo! Still 7 minutes left. And the dough has been resting for a few minutes, and this is a current situation. Look at this dough. Now time to make some foldings, stretch and foldings. Some oil on my hands, and let's do this! And this was the first stretch and folding, which was a little bit terrifying at the beginning. So what do we have to do? We should do 1 or 2 or maybe 3 more stretch and foldings, of course, out of this video. And then we let this dough rise. Bulk ferment for 2, 3, maybe 4, 5 hours. It depends on the room temperature. So when we see that this dough has double or triple in size, it will be time to cut it and shape, or not to shape, our ciabattas, like we did at the beginning of this video. Let's take them out of the oven. Taking advantage of the cold weather, now I have my ciabattas already cooled down. Let's cut them. So So take a look at this crumb. It is a little bit warm. I always do the same. I open the bread before it's time, before it has cooled down. That's not the best moment to open because the crumb, it's not yet gelatinized. The crumb is still a little bit chewy, but look at it, it's incredible. So what kind of sandwich would you do with this? Maybe some mortadella, some stracciatella, and everything with Ella. Wow! The crust is very crispy, but at the same time, it's thin, really thin, and that's a good thing. The crumb is moist, it's very airy, full of air pockets, and looks so tender. Italy in my hands. So why don't we taste it? The crumb is really, really tender. It's humid, but it's not chewy. It's quite soft like a butter. And the smell is everything. I could use this bread with everything, with a tomato, with fresh olive oil, maybe some stew. Why not? Or some sausages, some cheese, even alone. So, this is the end. I hope you have enjoyed this new recipe, this new experiment using 100% biga and 100% hydration. So these are the bread, super light, super tasty. I hope you do this at home too. And please let me know in your comments, what did you think about this experiment? Remember to subscribe to this channel, share it, give me a like, and I'll see you in the next video.